Good evening and a very warm welcome back to the 750 Motor Club Sim Championship powered by GridFinder. This is the second round of the inaugural season. We are racing the Mazda 7s this evening on the Croft circuit, the second of our 5 different car track combos to determine the ultimate sim champion among the 750 Motor Club community. My name is Chris Stevens. Alongside me, Chris Buxton. Chris, we've got a good night in store. 3 more races to come.
We had a fantastic opening to the series 2 weeks ago with our Toyota MR2s at Silverstone. And yes, these incredible 7-type machinery is quite far removed, I think, from the near road-going Toyotas that we had last time, and a very, very different track. This is a real challenge, whereas the Silverstone National Circuit, very few corners, lots of right foot. This one I've been really secretly looking forward to. I'm looking forward to all of them in the entire championship, don't get me wrong. But this one, the marriage of these wonderful little light Master 7s, or the 7-type machinery, with a very twisty and really challenging circuit, is a match made in heaven.
Well, let's take a look for the first race of the night. It will be Trafford King once again on pole position, as he was at Silverstone for this evening. Then it's Colin Cunniff alongside him on the front row of the grid, and then John Powell in third. Our 3 race winners from Silverstone, locking up the top 3 on this grid. Then comes Adam Parsonage, who is second amongst the 750 Motor Club Championship itself. We'll get more into that a little bit later. Then comes Dan Jude and Jamie Peters-Ennis on the third row of the grid. Harvey Pullinger and Keith Whitby on row 4. Then comes James Madden and Finlay Tidmarsh completing the top 10. Steve Bentley and Ben Goodwin, championship leaders, starting all the way down in 12th place. Paul Jarvis and William Hartley line up on the 7th row of the grid. Then comes Daniel Marshall and Mark Crawford. Adam Zieber and Alex Forster. Pete Belsey and Andrew Cooper complete the top 20. Vaughan Jones, then Max Spooner, Jensen Swift, Alex Horan, Sean Warby, Alan Woodvine, Chris Humphreys, and David Hudson completing the order there. Once again, we've got a nice jam-packed grid for tonight's action. So, Chris, we've moved from the MR2s, as you mentioned, over to the Mazda 7s. If you're not familiar with the Mazda 7s Championship in real life, it's an offshoot of the low-cost Championship. So those 7-type machines that you were talking about there, Chris. But the engine has been swapped out for a 1.8-litre VVT MX-5 engine, which gives them an awful lot more power.
In something that weighs as much as a damp flannel. It is an incredible... I have a real soft spot for 7-type machineries, particularly these Master 7s. They look very... they look very inviting. They look very comfortable, and you just wiggle your big toe on that loud pedal, and it is going to catapult you into a world of fun, or into a different world if you're struggling to hang on to them. But yeah, 1.8 liters in these tiny little bodies. They are hilarious fun to watch from spectators. I bet they're as much fun to drive. You could, I haven't driven one. I'd love to even ride it as a passenger in one. I'm fairly big, so I'd act as a lot of ballast. But they look incredible fun, and the racing, like we see in single spec series, is absolutely intense. And with a circuit like this, Croft may not be as well known as some other circuits to a number of our spectators. The circuit racers tend to know Croft. It is a popular circuit way up north, but it's a great place. And like I say, these cars are really, really well suited to this. There's a lot of power to weight ratio is absolutely fantastic, but they're lively. You've got to be on your ball to keep them on the straight and narrow, but get it right, and it's amazing to see.
Absolutely, and like we see in real life, the racing is absolutely spectacular. It's all about the slipstream, and you see the tactics being played where maybe people don't want to lead in certain phases of the race because they want to be in that prime position on the final lap, or even going into the last sector of the last lap. It can really come down to the wire, and even on a tighter circuit like Croft, we could see some absolutely fantastic wheel-to-wheel action. So we alluded to Ben Goodwin, championship leader, starting all the way down in 12th place. This is what we wanted to see, Chris, isn't it? About how these different car track combos are going to favor different drivers. So on one hand, we've got our 3 race winners from Silverstone starting in the first 3 positions on the grid for race 1, but the championship leader starting outside the top 10.
Yeah, that you wouldn't have betted on that by Ben Goodwin's performance last time out. His lowest finishing position was 4th, and that was in the second reverse grid race that we had last time out. Podium twice. So did Traffic King, in fairness, who got pole by a comparatively comfortable amount at Silverstone and went on to win race 1, but had quite an unfortunate race 2, finished in 9th on that occasion. So what that kind of alludes to is we're not seeing one definitive runaway winner of all the silverware, which, if that happens, fair play to them, they've done very well. But let's face it, we all want to see a lot of scrapping, and that's exactly what we saw last time out. These cars, like we've said, much lighter, much more nimble and agile. So but a very different discipline as well. With the heavier cars, you would tend to attack the corners with a bit more. You need to kind of think about it a bit more, allow more time for the car and for the weight transfer in the car to get the power down just at the right time. These steer with the rear. Get the power down as early as you dare to have the car rotate around. But exactly as you say, Chris, it's all about the slipstream. It's about knowing when to make that all crucial attack. Whereas the Toyotas were about make the move when you can, again, because there's no difference between the cars. It's all down to the drivers. You've got to make those opportunities appear. Here at Croft, with these cars, it's tactics play a very important part. And there we are. We're starting to see the grid form, and that furthers my excitement. It really does.
Absolutely. So yeah, Traffic King, safe to say that he was the pace setter last time out at Silverstone, but not having it all his own way. He is second in the championship going into this one. 7 points, in fact, separate the top 7 in the overall standings. That's Ben Goodwin, Traffic King, Colin Cunniff, Harvey Pullingham, John Power, Adam Parsonage, and Keith Whitby. 6 of those drivers ended up with a podium finish last time out at the Silverstone National. And then, of course, we have the sub championship as well, which is just for the 750 Motor Club members. That is being led by Traffic King, but only on countback, because he, Adam Parsonage, and Colin Cunniff are tied on 27 points apiece going into this second round of the championship. So definitely all to play for with 4 rounds still remaining. There will be 3 races tonight. The first race, the grid being set by the qualifying. Then we go into our top 10 reverse grid race. That will be set by the results of race 1. And then race 3 is based off of the results of race 2, but with no reverse grid there. So plenty to look forward to. And of course, these drivers are all playing for prizes to be won. All race winners will get the Track Titan training subscription, a 750 Motor Club trophy as well. All the podium finishers will get 750 Motor Club merchandise as well. But of course, the championship prizes on offer. The Moza Racing R5 bundle pedal and wheel combo worth £500, as well as a ticket to the 750 Motor Club Awards Night on February the 10th. That is the ultimate prize, as well as a training session from a current GT3 driver and a rig mat from Upshift Store. That's courtesy of AE Racing as well. And then that's for second place. And then third place will be getting the Track Racer seat mount kit, as well as a £50 Tagiwa.com voucher. So lots on offer in these remaining 4 rounds. As we take a look at the grid now, it will be Traffic King in the blue car starting on pole position, Colin Cunniff and the yellow car alongside him, then John Power, the red car. Our 3 race winners from Silverstone will be lining up on the top 3 positions on the grid. 3 completely contrasting characters as well, as we have the lights now ready for race number 1 in round 2 at the 750 Motor Club Sim Championship, powered by Grid Finder. We are away now. A very nice start made by Colin Cunniff from the front row of the grid. It looks like he's challenging on the outside line. This is on board a bit further down the pack. Plenty of jostling for positions. We go into Clervo for the first time. It is the pole sitter Traffic King who has just been able to hang on to his lead. Plenty of scuffling further back, and I thought for a minute Vaughan Jones might just have snaked his way through that, who we were on board with, but no such luck. And John Power has made his way through into second place with a great run out of the second corner at Hawthorne Bend.
Oh my goodness, somewhat chaotic at the tail end of the field, but as we look at Colin Cunningham now, looks on the inside line coming down towards Tower Bend, can't quite get it done. John Power up in the second, like you say, an absolutely superb start for him. Adam Parsonage fourth in this particular group, hunting Colin Cunningham already. Now the rest of the field starting to kind of find their own little bit of real estate, riding on board with Finley Tidmarshall. And briefly, there's Daniel Marshall. So close again, as you would imagine, that these cars, like we said, much lighter, much greater power to weight ratio. So they do take some taming, but the reward is absolutely true. John Madden's gone off the road. You can see his name falling down the tower. But now the people starting to get a bit more of a feel for how these cars are going to behave. And then people starting to find where they are in the pecking order. Right behind Daniel Marshall is Ben Goodwin. You saw his car getting very sail happy as Paul Jarvis nearly hits the back of Ben Goodwin as we are already coming to complete lap one.
Yep, rounding the hairpin for the first time at the end of lap number one. It is Trafford King, the pole sitter, who leads by nearly a full second to John Power and Colin Cunningham there in third place. We alluded to the three very different characters. Traffic King, the Type R racer, the youngster who was the top rookie in the field in real life this year. Then you got John Power in his 60s, who is the former Formula Ford racer and rally driver as well, who's turned to sim racing in recent years. And then Colin Cunningham, who has experience in the 750 Motor Club's Alfa Romeo Championship as well. So three very contrasting characters at the head of this field, and John Power just bringing down that gap ever so slightly. Here we can see Dan Jude, who is starting to sort of latch onto the back, but getting very wide out of Tower Bend, just dipping a wheel into the grass there. Got a bit side by side further back as Stephen Bentley is coming under pressure from Andrew Cooper, both in the white cars, but Cooper running that orange stripe on his car as they head towards the Jim Clark S's once again as we rejoin the leaders. We see we've got Traffic King just starting to edge away a little bit, then a battle for second, and then this battle for fourth place between Adam Parsonage in the green and yellow car, and then Dan Jude in the white car behind him.
Great stuff there. Dan Jude nailed to the back of Adam Parsonage. We're now looking back from Colin Cunningham, and that's a bit of an unfortunate slide there. The car's still not settled down, it looked like, from Cunningham. As, that's wide, very wide for Adam Parsonage, leaving the door open there for Dan Jude, but Dan just couldn't quite get the power down when he needed it. He kind of ran out of room just at the crucial moment. So now the first kind of racing laps coming in anger, and without too much surprise, Traffic King with the fastest on the board. He is storming away. It's exactly what we saw last time out at Silverstone in the first race. He took that pole position quite commandingly and just was pretty much unchallenged for the remainder of the race. Will it remain this way? Well, we will see. These cars are quite unforgiving. If you do start to lose it, you can catch the tail if it starts to misbehave, but if it does let go, it's pretty unforgiving. Just the amount of power these things have, it does make the slide that much more difficult. Again, you saw a bit of a snap there from Adam Parsonage. Dan Jude just hasn't quite got the overspeed yet to get through into that fourth place, but he's applying the pressure. That's also part of single spec racing. You may not have the power advantage because, of course, everybody's running the same machinery. It's all about application of pressure and dealing with that pressure, forcing the mistake on the driver ahead of you. As he's gone for the move on the inside line. Very nicely done through sunny in and sunny out. Dan Jude now up to fourth.
Well, I was going to say, if you're going to make a mistake on the lap, the best place to do it is the hairpin, actually, because it's actually very difficult to make a move on the inside line there work because you have to come in at such an acute angle and you compromise your run onto the front straight. But it looked like in sunny in there that Adam Parsonage just got it a little bit wide, and Dan Jude needed no second invitation there as we've got a bit of bumping further back, and that is the yellow car is at Keith Whitby who has just made it into the barriers there, unfortunately, as Traffic King once again sets the fastest lap of the race, a 1:38.607. Remember, there is a bonus point available for that fastest lap, and he was some half a second quicker than John Power in second place last time around. We're a third of the way through this first race of the night, and Traffic King leading by over 2 seconds now. That is extraordinary.
Absolutely. So a class of one, as he was before. Absolutely stunning performance from the youngster. That's Cunniffe moving on John Power, going to the outside line. Can he get it done? John Power, he's such an experienced hand. Anything with an engine, he knows how to race, be it virtual or be it real. He is a superb talent to try and hustle against. That's what 2.5 seconds looks like in these Mazda 7s. But Colin Cunniffe is doing a superb job in applying the pressure to the veteran. But John Power remains unflustered.
A little bit of locking up of brakes into Sunny in there, but Colin Cunniffe in that yellow car. Remember, he lost second place to John Power on the opening lap coming out of Hawthorne Bend. It was John Power with the excellent run out of that second corner, managed to sneak past into second place, having started in third place on the grid. And that is a very wide moment indeed there for Colin Cunniffe. And look how much ground he's lost just with that one little mistake going into the hairpin. That gap that was only a couple of tenths of a second is now stretching out to almost a full second. And he's got to be careful, actually, because surely if he keeps making mistakes like that, he'll come under pressure from Dan Jude, as there looks to be Ben Goodwin, our championship leader, just behind Will Hartley here, making a move up into 9th place in that green car. Indeed it was.
Absolutely. So jostling throughout the field, as we love to see, as we're looking at Will Hartley. You saw just behind him Ben Goodwin and Keith Whitby arguing very, very closely for their spot inside the top, or to further their position inside the top 10. Nearly 3 seconds now to the good for Traffic King. Is that someone flirting with the grass? That was Whitby. That was pushing his luck a little bit with the grass. I mean, at least it's dry. If that was wet, well, if it was wet, he probably has sunk in it. But either way, he's lives to fight another day. But yeah, like you say, Dan Jude is potentially falling into the clutches of Adam Parsonage now that position has been made by Colin Cunniffe into third place. Colin is really getting into his Dan is really getting into his stride, and potentially could start to challenge a little bit later on for a position on the podium, as we're looking for a little bit further down the field at Steve Bentley. He's just got past Jamie Peters-Ennis, who started fairly well, so has a bit of a rough run in this race. It's already well into the second half of the race. That's again what we love about motorsport, be it virtual or trackside. It's the time that flies by.
Yeah, these races very much embody the 750 Motor Club and club racing in general ethos. We've got 3 15-minute races, all coming very thick and fast, much like we have in real life as well. Unless you're watching the Club Enduro Championship, then you get the full 2 hours, some of the best value for money racing on the planet. This is that battle for second place once again. Colin Cunniffe starting to recuperate a little bit. He's recovered some of that gap. It's down to half a second. Remember that mistake going into the hairpin? We saw the gap extend to around about a second. So he's got back on it. The lap times are looking good. Briefly, I think held the fastest lap of the race, or at least put in a personal best. So he is able to close down that gap on John Power. John Power in the red car, Colin Cunniffe in the yellow car, battling over second place here, and very much look at John Power driving one-handed in the virtual world into Sunny in and Sunny out. And the confidence that these guys have to get it on the grass as well, and take a little bit of extra track as well. Really impressive stuff.
Very much so. Far braver than I. Like I said, I've never driven a 7-type car. I'd love to. I would absolutely love to throw one of these things around the track. They look so much fun. But I could easily imagine John Power just he's relaxed. He knows full well that Cunnif's there buzzing around in his rearview mirrors. He's just, nothing flaps him. He was a joy to speak to last time out after a race in Silverstone. He's exactly as you say, Chris, a wonderful range of characters, and John was just a happy man, wasn't he, when we spoke to him before? And I bet he is just as much enjoying this race with Colin Cunniff. The gap back to Dan Jude has grown a bit. It's nearly 2 seconds now, as the white car just going through the chicane there is falling away now from any kind of potential podium challenge with less than 5 minutes to go, less than 4.5 minutes remaining. There's only a few laps left, so if he wants to try and challenge for that podium as well, he needs to get on with it. But again, he's well out of slipstream range. I tend to say around about 0.8 of a second is where you'll start to feel a slipstream challenge. It is a kind of rule of thumb, it's not exact science, which he is outside of. So I think he's kind of hoping that one of the three ahead of him make a bit of a mistake so he can get involved in it. But either way, still a fourth is still a decent result for Dan Jude.
Absolutely is, and that battle we saw him have with Adam Parsonage a little bit earlier on, they are now separated by 1.4 seconds. So Dan Jude in that white car behind the battle that we're watching at the moment, he's very much cementing that fourth place as the moment, as there's a spit of flame out the side of Colin Cunniff's car. And is he getting hot under the collar here as he stalks the back of John Power, looks up the inside of the hairpin here, but as we mentioned earlier, very, very difficult to actually make a move on the inside of that last corner stick. So just over 3 minutes left on the clock, and the big question is, what order will our podium finishers be in? Will John Power be able to hang on to this second place as Trafford King's advantage grows once again? It's now 3.5 seconds as we enter the closing stages of this race. Surely no question marks over who's going to be winning race number one for the second time in as many rounds. The big question mark is over who's going to be finishing in second place. And John Power getting an excellent run through Clairvaux and onto the back straight here towards Tower Bend. He's just managed to put a few extra meters between himself and Colin Cunniff.
Again, that's just his experience, just showing exactly what he's capable of. Age is merely a number, certainly when it comes to sim racing. You can argue the physicality is a bit more of a problem, but John didn't get that memo. He's giving it everything he's got. Oh, that's trouble. I think that's Ben Goodwin that is pulling off to the side of the road that we saw at the top of the shot. There he is, exiting stage right. He's had an issue. He's done the right thing and gotten very much out of the way as kind of, again, I was about to say renews his challenge. He didn't really relent his challenge on John Power for that second spot, and it hasn't slowed them up at all. That gap back to Dan Jude now 2 seconds, and looks on the inside line as both of these cars belching flame as they are coming through the complex, heading towards the hairpin once more. Oh, Colin Cunniff, he's trying every line. Look at the line differences between the two cars, but Johnny's just parking his car exactly where it needs to be and making Colin really, really work for it. Penultimate lap for race one here at Croft.
Yep, less than 2 minutes to go now, so it will be 2 more laps to go in this race, and the yellow car of Colin Cunniff taking such a wide line into the final corner, but not giving him the run he needs. Here is our race leader, Trafford King, the blue car number 12, who has absolutely dominated this one from pole position, just as he did at Silverstone in the Toyota MR2 Championship 2 weeks ago. This is on board with Cunniff as he rides through the chicane for the penultimate time, but runs wide onto the grass, and they may have been taking a little bit of the grass, but that surely was too much and has cost him momentum. The pressure's on now.
That was a bit of a moment. He'd have certainly had a bit of a, no other way to put it, a bit of a clench. And look at the time that's cost them. 1.3 now back to Dan Jude. So it's given, not that Trafford King needed any space, but that's now 4 seconds up to the top. So one mistake, even at this late stage in the race, can still be very, very costly. But at the moment, it hasn't caused a change in positions. We are approaching the start of our final lap for race number one. It is still looking as King, Power and Cunniff, the real standout talents from last time out in Silverstone. There's still time for anything to occur.
Yeah, especially as look at this, the race leader coming up on lap traffic now, so he's going to have to navigate that as Trafford King comes out of the final corner. and we'll start what we believe will be the last lap of the race. So we should see the white flag out this time around. It'll be a last lap board in real life, but comes across the line onto his final lap. Confirmation at the top of the screen now, and John Power, Colin Cunniff go over the line, separated by only 0.2 of a second now, and the back marker getting well out the way through Clervaux, and now Colin Cunniff's going to be running out of opportunities soon. He's coming up to Tower Bend, might well be his best opportunity to try and take second place away from John Power. He's close enough. He's got a good run here down the back straight, coming towards what is the biggest braking zone on this lap. Is he going to be close enough to take second place away from that red car of John Power? No, he's not, but Power locks up and has a big slide into the middle of Tower Corner. How on earth he managed to hold it together? That is astonishing, but he's really coming under pressure now. In his mirror, surely that yellow car with the black tip nose is going to be going bigger and bigger in his rear view mirror. Through the Jim Clark S and towards Sunny in and Sunny out now. Not really an overtaking opportunity in here, it has to be said. But he is right on the back, maybe into the complex. He might just be able to find a way through. This is the last lap of the race. Remember, Trafford King is well clear. There's nearly 5 seconds to the good, and Power's now feeling that pressure as he goes defensive into the complex. Kind of trying to make it all the way around the outside, but he can't make it work. Can't get himself that high line for this next right-hander. It could come down to the absolute final corner as Trafford King makes his way out of that final hairpin and drags towards the finishing line. It's back-to-back race 1 victories for Trafford King, who takes another dominant victory, this time in the Mazda 7's Championship, and John Power is just going to hang on to second place after a race-long sensational battle with Colin Cunniff.
Sensational, it certainly was. Still plenty of battling going on behind as we look at Alex Forster, who's got a great ringside seat of Paul Jarvis already ahead, trying his best to get past Adam Zeba to get another step towards the top 10. It's not going to quite go their way again, still flirting with the grass, trying every pixel of space they can, but he has to stay where he is for that particular spot. There's Peter Belsey that is still circulating. It hasn't gone well for Pete, unfortunately, but still sticking in there. That's also something else that we like to see. Drivers not giving up just because lap 1 didn't go very well. So it's still playing on, still doing what he can, and still enjoying himself, no doubt. Again, that's something that's, whilst the racing is incredible and we do celebrate those that have finished towards the top, motorsport is done for the love of motorsport. Let's not lose sight of that.
Absolutely. Big drama in the championship as Ben Goodwin, we saw outside the top 20. So we'll take a short break. Well, hopefully we'll be able to hear from our Race 1 winner, Trafford King, in just a few short moments' time. But Chris, what an absolutely brilliant battle we saw for second place between John Power and Colin Cunniff. That was highlight of the race.
Oh, yeah, that was absolutely fantastic. Colin tried everything he possibly could to get that position, but John Power just knew exactly what he needed to do. With it, save for that one lockup, that one slight chink in the armor that we saw from the veteran, it made no difference anyway. He knew exactly how to just keep his head, keep his cool, and ultimately keep Colin Cunniff behind. But it was a fantastic race.
It certainly was. Of course, coming up next, it will be the top 10 reverse grid race, and it will be Daniel Marshall, who finished 10th in race 1, starting on reverse grid pole for the next one. He himself, no racing experience, but for the last 2 years, he's been helping his brother David race in the Five Club Racing MX5 Championship, also part of the 750 Motor Club. So very much, still very much in keeping with the 750 Motor Club theme. Now, let's see. We think we can now have a word with our race 1 winner, Trafford King. I mean, Trafford, it was just like Silverstone all over again. Absolutely dominant out there.
Hello. We're in. Are we in?
Hello. Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, it was. I just thought I had to get away there because I saw everything happen behind into the first corner. I know it gets tight at Croft, so it was just a case of getting out of the way and then just managing it from there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you finding the transition between going from the MR2s last time out to this Mazda 7's championship? Of course, the big part of this sim championship is going to be the 5 different car track combinations. So how's the switch been?
Yeah, they were a bit lazy on weighing the corner entry and everything. These can be, you've got to be really smooth with them because they're just so snappy. Like they're easy to go fairly fast, and then to go properly quick, you have to really push them. So it's a case of just reeling it back a little bit, I think.
Okay, so just making sure you don't overdrive the car in a sense.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
So.
Well, yeah, I love how you say it's easy to go fast in these things. I think people such as myself might argue that kind of statement, but we'll see. We'll have to give it a go sometime. Obviously, we saw quite a bit of carnage in the first corner. Clervaux, it's quite a tight corner. You've now got to do the next race from 10th on the grid, and race 2 last time out was your weakest result. So how are you feeling going into the next race?
Yeah, last time I got a little shoulder barge coming out of Cops, and as soon as I got on grass, that was it. I was in wall and everything. I think I ended up about 29th at one point. So I don't really know this time because Clervaux's a lot tighter, so it could all end in tears, but we'll see.
Okay, what's more favorite, inside or outside?
I'd say inside. I've been on outside twice in real life now, on my first ever race weekend, and I think I went through gravel both times. So yeah.
Do you know what? I think I remember that moment.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Chris, anything you want to add?
How do you approach driving the 2 cars? You said the Toyota was very lazy, it's much heavier cars and kind of more difficult to coax into life. Do you approach driving the Mazda 7 in a different way? Do you prepare any differently?
I think with the MR2, it was more just lean on it, under braking, and just keep it in a straight line, which is quite similar to these because they lock wheels up for fun. But the rear seems to snap a lot quicker on the Mazda, so it's a case of just trailing it in nicely, in probably even more in a straight line than the MR2, and then just trying to stay smooth, I think.
I'd love to give these things a try, but I dare say it probably wouldn't fit in it. Well, the grid is now being formed. We'll let you get off. So great win as last time out. Thank you very much. Traffic King.
Cheers.
Race 1 winner, Traffic King there. We'll be hoping things go a little bit better in this race number 2 than they did last time out at Silverstone. I mean, Chris, as he mentioned there in that interview, it was all a bit hip and shoulder at the start at Silverstone, and Clervaux is a very tight first corner to be going into, followed by a very tight chicane after Hawthorne's Bend as well. So anything could happen, really.
Very true. The thing with the Toyotas, though, because of its kind of closed wheel nature, you can get away with it. It's not quite the phrase I mean, but it's less consequential to go door banging. You try door banging in these things, and it's a disaster waiting to happen. So hopefully we'll see a bit more kind of caution coming into that first corner, first time around. But then we did see a little bit of mishaps, as I would say, in race 1. It was somewhat enthusiastic, but time will tell. It is what we can really say to that. The grid is being formed. You've always got that kind of apprehension, haven't you, before we head to the race. But before we head there, let's have another word from our sponsors.
And Moza R5 Racing Bundle, that is what the drivers here are fighting for. That is what the champion will receive after all 6 rounds of racing. Now, I wonder here if Daniel Marshall picked up a penalty in race number 1, or maybe there was some error on our timing screen, because it actually looks like it's going to be Keith Whitby starting on pole position for this race. Here we're on board with Keith Whitby, who did race in the 750 Trophy, was the old name for the historic 750 Formula in 2000 to 2010 before moving to Canada. Now, I'm looking at it actually here. I do believe that is Daniel Marshall on the left-hand side there in the yellow car. So it does look like it will be Daniel Marshall starting on pole position. Actually, the timing screen is just yet to update itself. Daniel Marshall, as we mentioned there, from Crew. We talked earlier about his brother racing in the Fibre Club Racing MX5 Championship. He's also fairly new to the world of sim racing, a year's experience under his belt in Assetto Corsa, like we're racing on here, and in iRacing as well. He has racing ambitions as well, wants to take part in the UK Brick Car 24 Hours of Silverstone next month with the Pineapple Racing Club as well. So nice to see he's got ambitions of his own as well.
Absolutely so, and what an event as well to aim for.
Certainly is, as we've got the lights being prepared for the second race of the night, the top 10 reverse grid race in the second round of the championship. All lights are on. 15 minutes underway, big plumes of tyre smoke coming up from the rear tyres. It's a very good start from our pole sitter, who gets away into the lead of the race very nicely indeed in that yellow car. Keith Whitby coming under pressure though. He's fallen back into second place. It's Will Hartley in the purple car who's found his way into second place, and Titmarsh following into fourth. Plenty of scuffling further back, but a very clean start for our race leaders, as Daniel Marshall leads them away only by 0.3 of a second. Looks like Keith Whitby is going to be challenging for second place once again. He lost that position in the first corner at Clervaux going into Tower Bend, but a big outbreaking manoeuvre here from Will Hartley on the outside, side by side, door handle to door handle through Tower Bend. Keith Whitby in the white car with the red trim on it, trying to find his way back through Will Hartley in the purple car, side by side through the Jim Clark S's as well, and Hartley has to go out a little bit wide, and that should give the Whitby car the inside, but still Hartley is refusing to let go of this second place, but going into Sunny Inn he has to concede.
Yeah, that was a very hard-fought battle for 3/4 of the lap, but the victor on that occasion was Keith Whitby, as we see the stationary camera, the rest of the field streaming through as they that was a bit of a touch, or looked like a bit of a touch between Whitby and Hartley as they come into the complex. There was a little bit of a tap there. I think Keith Whitby may have been a little bit slow, or slower, I should say, than Will Hartley, but no harm, no foul. A big snap of oversteer as we see Colin Cunniff, the red name on the tail means they have gone off the road somewhere. So Colin Cunniff was up to 5th earlier in the lap, is now down into 12th position, so not ideal for him. But it was
absolutely fired off. You got absolutely fired off into the hairpin. Was in 5th place, as you mentioned there. And contact now as Harvey Pullinger gets a tap from behind, and he goes spinning at Clervaux corner. So this is no consequence to the guys in front, of course, and so that has shaken things up a little bit, created a few gaps. But Colin Cunniff, as we were talking about there, fallen right down the order. He's in 10th place, so he's recovered a couple of those positions as we see Adam Parsonage going side by side here with Finley Titmarsh for 4th place, and that was Titmarsh finding his way through at Tower Bend in that blue car, and just holding his own against the green car of Parsonage as they go through the Jim Clark S's, and that's costing them a little bit of time to that top 3. Now, unlike what we saw in race number 1, the race leader not walking off into the distance. It's only 0.6 of a second that separate race leader Daniel Marshall from the second place driver of Keith Whitby. Remember how hard he fought for that second place on the opening lap against Will Hartley. And then this battle as Parsonage still coming under pressure. This time it's Dan Jude. He just missed out on the podium last time out, but a big shove against the green car of Parsonage there, and through goes our race 1 winner, Traffic King. He takes 2 places in one easy manoeuvre there.
Yeah, Traffic King was almost waiting for impact to occur, which it sadly did right ahead of him. Not that Traffic King needs any advantage, but either way, he benefited up into 5th position now. Dan Jude is ahead at this point of Parsonage, who's actually got Forster in between them as well. A little bit further back, we just see Andy Woodvine. He's got an absolute pack of cars right behind. As that's Adam Parsonage and Alex Forster going side by side into that chicane must be terrifying. It certainly looks very close from the external perspective. But is Alex Forster then that has got the advantage slightly over Parsonage? John Power back involved in the battle, and John Power in between the pair of them, is he? Oh, John Power had to back out of that when he couldn't use the overspeed. On the left-hand side goes Parsonage. He's back up ahead of the pair of them into 7th position. All this fighting is dropping them off the back of Dan Jude, but what a fantastic battle it is. And there's Colin Cunniff getting back into his stride, now up into 10th place, and now starting to challenge his race winner adversary, John Power.
And it looked like Parsonage got a little tap from the rear there from John Power, just coming into Sunny in and Sunny out, but still all pointing in the right directions. We see Colin Cunniff behind them making a move to the outside as well. We rejoined that battle for 4th place. That's Finley Tidmarsh there, and actually this is the battle for the full lead battle there, as Dan Marshall was coming under big pressure into the hairpin. Keith Whitby following him very closely indeed. So the top 5 here, you can throw a blanket over them at this stage of the race. Very little separating them at this moment. We're just over 1/3 race distance, as Traffic King going to try and make another little move here. It looked like Tidmarsh was very wide going into Hawthorns, but he was just able to hang on to the places. They make their way back down the back straight, and this is where we're going to see that slipstreaming effect come into play here, as the race leader Dan Marshall has to go defensive into Tower Bend. The yellow car on the inside there, defending against Keith Whitby. Will Whitby be able to get the undercut here? He's all over the back of him and steps out the back end as Marshall was backing him up at the apex of Tower Bend. And now is that going to allow Will Hartley to come back through into 2nd place as well? Not quite.
I feel a bit for Dan Marshall. If he looked in his mirrors, he would just see this sea of headlights all pressuring for the position he occupies, and thus Parsonage has gone wide and John Power has gone through. So John Power did not need a second invitation to that particular party. Colin Cunniff involved in that battle as well. Great fight between these three that we enjoyed in the first race, and we enjoyed a few times last time out at Silverstone. And look, already Parsonage having to go defensive. Oh, that's a car round out the complex. That's not ideal, but they have very wisely gotten out of the way. Look for that battle for second. That's Hardy and Tidmarsh arguing for that second spot on the podium. Traffic King's got a great ringside seat, but that was us. Oh, the car that was facing the wrong way was our former race leader. It was Dan Marshall.
Yep, Dan Marshall, race leader, facing the wrong way in the complex. We're on board here with Traffic King as Tidmarsh tries to get on the inside here of Will Hartley. Hartley braving it out around the outside, and the blue car goes through. Traffic King trying to get involved in this as well. He's going to try and take both of them in one fell swoop. Surely he's going to back out going into the chicane. He does just about, although what a big moment there. One of those blue cars was Traffic King. Now, was he the one flying across the circuit? I couldn't quite see. New race leader Keith Whitby is loving seeing all this go off in his mirrors, because he is now 1 second to the good. It's Tidmarsh in second. Dan Jude now up into 3rd place ahead of Will Hartley, and Traffic King back down into 5th place now after that big moment out of the chicane.
2 cars at Sunny in for Dan Jude. Talking about opportunistic, but Will Hartley trying to get on the inside line. That's forced Jude too wide. Oh no, impact between the two. Jude has gone off into the grass. Now Traffic King has taken the opportunity to get 2 and up into 3rd place, but Will Hartley's not letting that stand. but Traffic King's got a slightly heavier right foot and just about retains the battle. But look, right behind them, John Power is ready to join the party as Hartley gets a bit of a punch in the face from Dan Jude, who's a little bit unsettled. But John Power is flying through the field at the moment. He's now ready to do battle with the three ahead.
Jude on the inside here in the white car, and Will Hartley in the purple 15 machine trying to get underneath him at the hairpin. Going to go side by side here. The red car of John Power, who finished second in race number 1, trying to get involved in this as well. Dan Jude will have the inside line going into Clervaux unless John Power can find his way through and take both of them in one manoeuvre. This would be extremely brave from John Power, and he makes it work. John Power up into 4th place as Will Hartley had to take to the gravel. He's fallen down the order. He's fallen down to 8th place. So the man who was looking at a podium place just a few corners ago, now in the bottom end of the top 10.
Good grief, in the blink of an eye, the whole top 10 is all completely changed. Absolutely amazing stuff. And look, that's Jude and Cunniff side by side as they are coming. Goodness me, you can barely read the names out before they change your position once again. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Through Sunny in, through Sunny out towards the complex. They're still side by side, neither of them wanting to give credence to the other. But finally, Dan Jude manages to keep Colin Cunniff behind. And then Adam Parsonage ready to do battle with them, if they all come together. The Traffic King is having a much better second race than he did last time out, because 1.3 separates himself for the battle for the lead.
Absolutely, that battle for the lead very much closing up indeed. Keith Whitby coming under big pressure from Finley Tidmarsh. Keith Whitby, the former 750 trophy racer we were talking about earlier, going very defensive into the hairpin. Number 12 of Finley Tidmarsh, the blue car there with the white trim, tucking back into the slipstream. Less than 5 minutes now left on the clock, and our race leader Keith Whitby having to go defensive into Clervaux corner once again, and just able to hang on for now against Finley Tidmarsh. But Trafford King will be closing in with every single moment that they have to drive offline to cover each other. Bit of scuffling a bit further back onto the grass. There was the orange car behind Paul Jarvis. That was Zeba there as we rejoined the battle for the lead of the race, heading down towards Tower Bend. Now, what has happened to Finley Tidmarsh during that battle? Surely something must have happened at the chicane there. He's going very slowly. There he is. So Finley Tidmarsh, who was looking at the back of the race lead just a few seconds ago, bit of scuffing on that front left there. I almost wonder if there was contact.
I dare say that he's had an argument with the chicane tyres, and the chicane furniture has won that one. But that throws Keith Whitby to the mercy of Trafford King, and well, that's going to be a very difficult battle to resist. But here's Cunniff now, battle for 5th position. Jude's gone wide, but just manages to shut the door in time. It's not really an overtaking position through Sunny in, Sunny out, but you know that Colin Cunniff's going to try and seize the opportunity if he can. Goes to the outside for the first part of the complex, but can't get the traction he needs. Dan Jude fending off the advances of Colin Cunniff time and again he's hanging on to 4th position as Traffic King continuing his... Oh no!
Oh.
Was that a contact, or was that a mistake from Dan Jude?
It looked like contact.
It did look like contact, didn't it? It's between the two. Here comes Parsonage now. Can he claim 2? We've seen 2 positions claimed in a single manoeuvre time and again in this race. It looks like Parsonage wants to do the same.
3 minutes left on the clock, and suddenly Trafford King is within just a couple tenths of a second of our race leader. He could make it back-to-back race victories here tonight, and he's managed to put Keith Whitby offline through the chicane ever so slightly. He'll be in a great position when they get down into Tower Bend, but Whitby getting the momentum down the straight somehow. John Power is not far behind them as well. He's only 1 second behind it. 2.5 minutes remain, and the battle for the lead is absolutely wide open as we see Colin Cunniff here on the inside of Adam Parsonage for 5th place. So it looks like he relinquished a bit of the pace he gained after that incident with Dan Jude down at the hairpin, led him back through by the looks of it, but still coming under pressure from Parsonage and Will Hartley as well, who's on the recovery after that moment at Clervaux. a few laps ago. So Colin Cunniff here, of our sort of 3 leading drivers from the last race, Cunniff in 5th position there, but behind John Power, behind Trafford King as well. That's not going to be doing him too many favours in the championship, of course. We've got less than 2 minutes left on the clock, so I think we will be going on to the penultimate lap of the race now, and the leaders are separated by just a quarter of a second, even less than that. I think through the hairpin, Trafford King might well have just got very, very close indeed. Here they are. So I think this will be the last lap now, actually, because we've got 1:30 left on the clock, and it's 1:39 or so for a lap. So we'll wait for confirmation at the top of the timing screen. Trafford King haunting the back of Keith Whitby's car, going for a second race win of the night in this top 10 reverse grid race, and a tighter line here for Trafford King, trying to get himself the inside line for the game. He's just drawn a tiny little overlap, a beautiful switchback at the chicane, and they are now side by side going down the back straight, but he will have the outside line for Tower Bend, so it's going to have to be a big outbraking manoeuvre on the outside as Trafford King breaks towards the outside. Keith Whitby is going to try and hold him back, door handle to door handle through Tower Bend. Still, they are not letting up, but Trafford King's got the momentum. He should be able to draw clear by the time they get into the Jim Clark X's, and Trafford King takes the lead of the race with a beautiful manoeuvre. It took several corners to set up and execute. Can Keith Whitby strike back at him? Can John Power get his nose in there as well? 30 seconds left on the clock. Big lockups going into Sunny Inn, and I think Keith Whitby might just be losing out here a little bit. John Power with a bit of momentum going towards the complex now, so this could be it for Trafford King. Could be sorted out if these two are going to be squabbling for second place. John Power tries to get around the outside. He can't do it. He'll have the outside line for this next right-hander as well. Still no sign yet of actually whether this is going to be the last lap. I think it is, because we're coming up to just a few seconds left on the clock. Here's Trafford King, locks up his brakes. Keith Whitby tied to the inside as well. It could be a drag race to the checkered flag for second place, and the checkered flag is now out. Trafford King, back-to-back victories in one night. Sensational. And Keith Whitby just hanging on to second place after losing the lead on the last lap. John Power in third.
Wow, what an incredible battle, and still fights going on further down the field. That's Paul Jarvis losing out to Ben Goodwin, who was the championship leader coming into this round. I fear that challenge may well be somewhat changed after this race as they now come home. Paul Jarvis just with a tiny mistake at the end, losing a couple of spots. With those that have had a slightly less fortuitous race now coming home. Here comes Belsey and Bentley coming home in 20th and 21st. Few more cars then continuing their tour here in Croft. But what an incredible race we've been treated to.
Absolutely sensational. Came down to the last lap, and Trafford King, first driver to take 2 victories in one night. It's back-to-back victories for our new championship leader, and of course he'll now be starting from pole position for the final race of the night, as well as Chris Humphreys here just struggling to get the car across the line through the complex. For Keith Whitby, that is his first podium of the season as well, so congratulations to him. He had a series of good finishes, a best finish of 4th at the first round at Silverstone, followed by 2 second place finishes, so his first podium of the season there. John Power, of course, returning to the podium. He was second in race number 1, and he's got his second podium of the night, as we take a quick break and have a word from our sponsors. Well, what a race we've just been treated to. That top 10 reverse grid race. I mean, the reverse grid races never disappoint, but that was something else.
Absolutely. And I've got to say, fair play, Keith Whitby, for a superb display of defensive driving against Trafford King. who has proven himself on the real track and on the virtual track an absolute force to be reckoned with. But Whitby gave him everything. It was absolutely fantastic. But an amazing performance. Speaking of, Keith doth join us. Keith, are you with us?
I am. Hi, how's it going?
Very well. So I was just singing your praises. I was so impressed by your defensive driving. But how did it feel from your perspective?
Like I was being hunted. I could see Trafford coming from sort of, I don't know where he started, but just sort of climbing up the ranks, and I was just kind of waiting, to be honest, to do my best.
But I mean, you did not make it easy for him whatsoever. How are you finding the transitions from the Toyotas to these? You had 3 top 10 finishes last time out. Has it been a difficult transition?
No, I'm actually quite happy to be in this one, to be honest. The MR2 was a bit of a handful.
Well, the results are certainly showing so far. So, do you think you'll be challenging for that top spot in the final race of the night?
I mean, I'll certainly do my best, but we'll see. We'll have to see.
Great stuff. Well, you certainly gained in fan in me. That was fantastic. Great effort there, Keith. Any questions from you, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, Keith, I just want to talk to you about that defensive drive, really. I mean, you were going for the win. You came away with your first podium of the season. How do you choose the moment where you know to give it up?
Well, yeah, I think I was definitely slower in that last sort of sector there. So I thought, I'm just gonna cause some sort of silly incident if I go too sort of heavy on a defense. So I figured I'll probably just bag second place and let Trafford run away with it. That's kind of what I was expecting, anyway.
Fair enough. I mean, we've come an awful long way from your 750 trophy days. That is for sure. And of course, you're not even joining us from the UK anymore. All the way over in Vancouver, right?
That's right. Yeah. It would be a bit far to jump over for the races these days. So I just my dad's still racing actually in the 750 club. Probably watching right now actually. So hi, Dad. But yeah, no, it's been a little while since I've been on in real life. But it's over in Vancouver. It's not quite so easy to sort of jump on the track out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Well, we'll let you go because I think we've got Trafford waiting for a word as well. But all the best for the final race of the night.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Keith Whitby there was second place in that race. Oh, so close to his maiden victory, but came away with the maiden podium instead. And we do now have Trafford King joining us once again in the commentary box. I mean, Trafford, how on earth did you manage that? 10th to 1st. That was astonishing.
I honestly don't really know because there was a load of pushing and shoving in that one, unfortunately. But yeah, it was interesting, to say the least.
Interesting in what way? Getting through the order? I mean, we saw there was a bit of argy-bargy in there. You benefited from some of it hampered you a little bit, but in the end, you came away with the win.
Yeah, I think it's just Croft in general. It's just so flowy. Yeah. So if you're making a move, you're probably going to make contact at some point.
Okay, well, talk us how you set up that last lap maneuver, because it seemed to, even though the move was done into the Jim Clark S's, the work seemed to start all the way back at Clairvaux.
Yeah, well, coming out of the chicane, just before, obviously setting up out of Clairvaux, and I just thought I'd go inside, just try and tuck in, and then Keith got quite a good run, so I thought I'll tuck in behind again, and decided to brave it out for some stupid reason, but it worked.
Well, yeah, it definitely did work, and it's definitely been one of the most entertaining moments of the night. Of course, the big benefit of that is now you're starting on pole position for the last race of the night as well.
Yeah, definitely. So hopefully we can get away again, avoid anything in turn 1.
Can you do 3 from 3?
We'll have to find out.
All right. We'll let you go because the race 3 grid is now setting up. But good luck for the last race.
No worries. Cheers.
Trafford King. I want to say making 750 Motor Club Sim Championship history, but it's quite a short history at the moment. But still, can't take anything away from him. Absolutely astonishing, and seems to be doing the best with the switching between the cars as well, which I think is going to be the real key difference in in this championship. Of course, that's what it's all about: 5 different car track combinations. And of course, next time out will be in the Type R trophy cars as well, and that's what he raced in real life.
At Cadwell Park, I adore Cadwell Park. I'm a big fan. And I can say from personal experience that the mountain is not a joke. It is aptly named. I had quite a funny moment at Cadwell. One of the marshals saw me waiting for the race to begin, and because I'm, like I say, somewhat of a larger character, he thought, I'm going to have some fun here. He said, "Oh, do you want to walk up the mountain with me?" I said, "Oh yeah, come on then." Thinking, "Oh, this will be all right." I was about dead by the time I got to the top of it, and this marshal was giggling away to himself. But it's Cadwell is an incredible place, and it's such a very testing, very tricky circuit. But the scenery around it, much like Croft actually, is absolutely beautiful. It's such a great place. Love it.
Certainly is. For now, though, we've got to finish things up at Croft. One more race to come. It is not the reverse grid race, but it is based on the result of race number 2, and that is coming up next, right after this break. Final race of the night is about to get underway. One more 15-minute bout to determine the final victor in round 2 of the 750 Motor Club Sim Championship, powered by Grid Finder. As we've got all 5 lights on, Trafford King in the blue car on the left-hand side on pole position. He gets away very nicely, but so does Keith Whitby from the front row of the grid. And the race 2 battle is resumed at the start of the final race of the night, as they're going to go side by side into Clervaux corner for the first time. But Trafford King, 2-time race winner so far tonight, leads through the first corner. Keith Whitby gets a tap from behind. Big mess from the second corner. Plenty of cars going for a spin. I think Dan Jude was involved in that as well. He was from 4th place on the grid, and John Power as well might well have been caught up in that, as well as Colin Cunniff we're on board with, trying to navigate his way through the order. And he's got that looks to be Peters Ennis alongside him as well. So I think the question is, what happened to John Power as well? Looks like he may well have fallen down the order, as we've got plenty of shuffling going into Tower Bend. But for Trafford King, it's an absolute dream start. He's 1.4 seconds clear of Adam Parsonage, who's been the big victor in all that, with Will Hartley in 3rd place as Alex Forster gets forced off the road in the red car. Plenty of cars having to take to the runoff through the Jim Clark S's as well.
Oh wow, again, several into one doesn't go, as we've proven pretty much every race of the evening. And yeah, John Power down into 19th position, somewhat of an innocent victim, I think, in everything that transpired right ahead of him. But yeah, Jamie Peters Ennis wasn't with us last time out in the MR2s. Has had a rough night tonight, but is really making up for it now. Into 5th place as Finley Tinmarsh has gone too deep in through the complex section. Has lost 2. Could well lose another one. That's on the outside. That's Dan Marshall trying to break on the grass. Never usually goes very well. As that's round. Oh my goodness me. Cars all over the place. Oh my goodness me. It's been a bit more chaotic this race than we've had in the last 2, but Dan Marshall again caught up in an instant. Finley Tinmarsh still carrying on though, following that particular incident. Well, we do have stewards that are ready to look at races post-event should they need to. But Traffic King untroubled up top, 2 seconds to the good. I'd imagine he was smiling to himself when he saw in his rear view just coming out of Clairvaux and Hawthorne Bend, the chaos that took place behind him. That would no doubt make his night. Looking set for 3 for 3, but too early to call it yet. Plenty of racing action to come.
And disaster for John Power as well. He's all the way down in 17th at the end of the first lap. So for somebody who had 2 podiums so far tonight and looks to be one of the intent for the championship as well. Absolutely disastrous start. Some scrolling further back. I'll be pulling is couple of pressure here as what we see and due to go past into 8th place and pulling out, following him through as well. They're pulling a hit in the purple car. Leaving these parents turning out for clubs that they managed to just about surviving towards the complex once again.
So we're looking at
the complex. We've got
go on.
just 12 minutes to go, and a little bit more contact further back. And I saw a red car, and for a second I thought it might be John Power, but I think he's gotten away with it. So up front, it's Traffic King now leading by 2.7 seconds over Adam Parsonage. And here is Colin Cunniff, who could do a little bit of damage to John Power in the championship, but he's got Jamie Peters-Ennis for close company. We saw there Will Hartley had a bit of close company from Keith Whitby, absolutely nose to tail through the chicane and onto the back straight in the battle for 3rd place with 11 minutes left on the clock. Keith Whitby, of course, was denied victory on the final lap in race number 2, and looks like he's going to the inside there on Will Hartley and goes through into 3rd place.
Absolutely so. That battle absolutely searing hot. That's allowed Adam Parsonage a lot of breathing space. Slightly further back, side by side, that's Marshall and Madden that are arguing for real estates. Both of them in the yellow car. One with a black stripe down the middle is James Madden. Right ahead of him, you see a lovely 3-way fight going on between Jones Forster and Ben Goodwin. Oh, is that trouble for Will Hartley? He's a little bit slow. He's lost time against Whitby and now being challenged by Colin Cunniff. Like we said before, one small mistake is so costly. Oh, whoa, no, there was impact between the two. I thought, crikey, that was going to be close. But sadly, Colin Cunniff just getting a tap on the tail. As Will Hartley's gone off the road again. He's really struggling in this stage as Peters-Ennis on his outside line, challenging for 4th. That's been a storming effort for Jamie Peters-Ennis on his inside line with Finley Tidmarsh. We've seen kind of highs and lows in these Master 7s for him tonight. But Jamie Peters-Ennis is in a really strong position here. He's challenging Will Hartley coming down towards Clairvaux. Can he get it done? Yes, he can. I think Will Hartley kind of let that one go. You realise you've got to let the fight go at some point. So didn't try and turn in to defend. That's Jamie Peters-Ennis up into 4th.
Oh, wonderful move there, but Will Hartley going to try and come back. He's got a better run through the chicane and onto the back straight towards Tower Bend they go. He'll be on the outside line. Will Hartley in that purple car, but we have seen the outside line can work. But he's going to be doing the up and under here, not going to try and brave it out around the outside. Monsters the curb at the apex and doesn't really do him too many favours. He's still looking at the back of Jamie Peters-Ennis's car as they head towards the Jim Clark S's. And it looked like all that drama for Will Hartley was instigated by a bit of contact with Keith Whitby in their battle for 3rd place. But still plenty of time left on the clock, because now that was a little moment there for Hartley. Going a little deep into Sunny Inn, and through goes Colin Cunniff, the recovering Colin Cunniff as well after that moment in the complex on the previous lap. Right now, Traffic King's nearest championship rivals are doing everything they can to make it nice and easy for him as Peters-Ennis goes very wide into the complex. This could be another place gained for Colin Cunniff there. The 2 yellow cars going side by side. Cunniff has to dip into the grass a little bit, gets himself on the inside line for the hairpin. Will Hartley trying to recover that place from Peters-Ennis as well. But for now, it's Colin Cunniff in 4th place ahead of Jamie Peters-Ennis, and then Will Hartley in 6th place.
Dan Jude is ready to pick up the pieces if it goes wrong for the three ahead of him as well. He's closed in quite nicely, about 2 seconds a lap because of the fighting that the three of them are doing ahead of him. So Dan Jude, who's again had a very hot and cold night tonight in these Master 7s, is ready to do battle with the three ahead of him, riding on board with the now 7th place car. He's got a great ringside seat for the battle going on ahead of him. We can see Will Hartley looking to make a move on Jamie Peters-Ennis on around the outside line, coming into Sunny Inn. Can he get it done? No, he bows out of that one. So the purple car remains where he is. That's again giving Dan Jude more incentive to close that gap down. Well, there they go again. Peters-Ennis having to defend against Hartley. Who's going to come out the victor this time? It's still as they were as they heading into this section. Dan Jude continuing to just destroy the gap between himself and the battling Peters-Ennis and Hartley.
A great battle here for 4th place in this race, although it is very quickly becoming a battle for 5th as Colin Cunniff is starting to run away. He's now a second clear of this battle as we're just over half race distance now. Dan Jude here in that white car in 7th place, trying to find a way through here on Will Hartley now. Tighter line as they run up towards the hairpin and forces Hartley to the tighter line. And a big swapper though for Dan Jude on the exit of the corner. That was a very nice line that would have given him a good run down the straight, but it was all undone by being a bit too heavy on the right foot there. So he'll have to settle for 7th place for just a little bit longer. As this looks like Mark Crawford's had a moment at the hairpin. Could have been very similar to the one Dan Jude had, but just were not able to recover it quite as well. As Trafford King now 6.5 seconds to the good over Adam Parsonage, who's in turn 3.5 seconds ahead of Keith Whitby, and then 2 seconds clear of Colin Cunniff there as well. So this is the closest battle on track by the looks of it at the moment. This battle for 5th place with Jamie Peters-Ennis ahead of Will Hartley, and then Dan Jude here recovering from that moment we just saw at the hairpin, trying to get back onto the rear of Will Hartley's car. And Harvey Pullinger is not too far away from these guys as well. He could very well show his nose if they start squabbling.
Very true indeed. Dan Jude getting very close once again to the back of Will Hartley. What can they do this time? And Dan Jude's car getting very, very uncomfortable. Again, he's a little bit too heavy on the throttle. Easy for me to say from the commentary box, I grant you. But the car just getting a little bit unsettled. Too many horses being delivered to the back wheels at the point where the car's probably at its lightest, with the weight being transpersed over to one side as Dan Jude now gets the inside line on Hartley coming up into the final turn. Can he get it done? He knows is ahead, but Hartley's going to have the momentum, is he? No, not quite. Daniel Jude has finally managed to wrestle that position as a new fastest to Colin Cunniff. He's managed to get the fastest up from Trafford King. Well, our race leader, all series I say series dominator, certainly a Master 7 leader. Will he be able to get that one back? Oh my goodness me, not a common overtaking spot, and that's possibly why there's not a lot of room there as Jude and Hartley come together, and that's allowing Pulling to close in.
Well, I said watch out for him. He could show his nose if they start squabbling, and that's exactly what's happened with 4 minutes left on the clock, as the last spot on the podium is also up for grabs here, and that is Colin Cunniff once again finding himself on the grass after a little bit of contact with Keith Whitby. This is that battle for 6th place we were just watching. Will Hartley getting ahead, Dan Jude getting forced out as Harvey Pullinger is just drawing clear, but Dan Jude with a tighter line, a better run towards Jim Clark-Hess, is able to retake that 7th place. So it's Hartley, Jude and Pullinger absolutely nose to tail as they head into Sunny Inn once again, practically pushing each other through the two right-handers there. So Jude looks like he's got a run now going towards the complex. He's going to force Hartley to the inside. Less than 4 minutes on the clock as Jude tries to get around the outside. This hasn't worked for a few drivers, but Dan Jude's making it work. Gets himself the high ground for the next right-hander. Dan Jude in the white car, the number 10 machine, pulls himself up into 6th place. Little luck up though going into the hairpin and it could well come under pressure from Hartley and Pullinger behind him, as we've got Max Spooner and Adam Cooper going side by side into the chicanes while squabbling over 9th and 10th places. And then we rejoin the battle for 6th. Dan Jude with the momentum, able to repel the advances of the two cars behind him for now, and he might well consolidate that position now and try and scarper off down the road. Less than 3 minutes to go. Traffic King leads by nearly 8 seconds now.
Again, a show of one, a standard of one from Traffic King. It was a lovely move from Dan Jude coming up into the final turn last time around, starting to give himself a little bit of breathing space. Here comes Pullinger on the inside line from Will Hartley. Is the purple cars are going to swap round? We will see. They're still side by side. Hartley has something to say against his new pursuer, and Pullinger decides to slot in behind. It's not a bad result for Pullinger at all. I think he had I beg your pardon. He actually started today's round in 4th, so he was a podium sitter from Silverstone. So actually, this evening he's not gone as well as Harvey Pullinger would like. But either way, he's trying to make up for lost ground. Can't quite get the momentum on Will Hartley, and that is giving Dan Jude the opportunity to do, as you say, Chris, just get away from these two and start to chase off after Jamie Peters-Ennis. I'm not sure he's going to have enough time to do it, as Traffic King has started this lap, so 2 to go for these amazing cars. It's a shame. I know I said this last time. I want to redo it. Let's have another 3 races in these cars. But I think these cars have been more warmly greeted than the Toyotas from last time. And what amazing racing we've seen thus far.
That's been absolutely fantastic. Another epic night of racing in the 750 Motor Club Sim Championship, presented or powered by Grid Finder. But the last spot on the podium in this final race of the night is still to be disputed. Keith Whitby and Colin Cunniff side by side through the chicane, and Colin Cunniff coming out on top very briefly, but Keith Whitby with the better run down the straight, and now the inside line for Tower Bend. Keith Whitby in that blue car. Remember, he was pulling off big defensive moves against Traffic King for the lead in the previous race, with Colin Cunniff going right round the outside of Tower Bend, and will find himself the inside line for the Jim Clark S's as well. And Colin Cunniff finds himself back up into 3rd place. Now, this is all feeling a little too familiar for Keith Whitby, I'm sure. Can he find a way back through on Colin Cunniff, I wonder, in the remaining lap and a half that I believe we have? Remember, Colin Cunniff has that fastest lap of the race as well, so he'll have a bonus point for that as well. One to take away from Trafford King, that's for sure, unless he can do anything about it on the last lap of the race, which he will be starting very shortly. Here is our race leader, who's been absolutely untroubled in today's race, this particular race. It's an absolute night and day compared to the reverse grid race, where he worked his way up from 10th on the grid. No dramas at all for Trafford King in this race, and Adam Parsonage will have a very comfortable 2nd place finish as well. It will be a 2nd podium finish of the season for him. As Colin Cunniff is across the line in 3rd place as well. And these two purple cars of Harvey Pullinger and Will Hartley still squabbling over 7th places. We are now on the last lap. Will Hartley on the inside of Clervaux Corner, trying to take 7th place away from Pullinger. And that's a very simple maneuver for Hartley in the end, but can Pullinger do anything with it? He's trying to find that tighter line on the route through Hawthorns and towards the chicane. And he'll have a slipstream down the back straight, that's for sure. And this could be another battle that goes right down to the final corner, as they're side by side once again going down towards Tower Bend. And Harvey Pullinger just pulling ahead on the outside line, very briefly under braking, but Will Hartley stands his ground on the inside line, still having to cover off Will Hartley here as he looks towards the inside of the Jim Clark S's, and side by side through that little kink, and he has to go off the circuit there, does Pullinger, and in doing so takes the position.
Well, there may be words said about that, but there are no words you can offer in defiance of this man. Car number 12, Trafford King, a dominant performance again. He's done the triple, and the winner for race number 3 for tonight. Absolutely amazing. Trafford King was unchallenged following the first lap. Adam Parsonage comes home in 2nd position. He'll be pleased with that. but chasing Colin Cunniff home for the podium is Keith Whitby. Jamie Peters-Ennis, been a bit of a rough night, but finishes it on a high of 5th place. Then Dan Jude in 6th. There's the Pulling and Harley. They settled their dispute 1.5 seconds apart in the end. As Adam Cooper trying to get something on Max Spooner. Max Spooner all the way up in the 9th position. They remain where they are on the board. There's still plenty of cars again. All ferocious fighting. But what great racing once again we've enjoyed from the 750 Motor Club.
Absolutely astonishing. It's two Type R trophy drivers in the front two on that particular occasion. Trafford King, the top rookie in Type R this season, and then Adam Parsonage, who was rejoined the 750 Motor Club and done Type R trophy this season as well, and also looking to do it next season as well. And actually a former low-cost racer more than a decade ago, but surely that might have helped him in this particular championship. Of course, the Mazda 7s being an offshoot of the low-cost championship. Last car to make it over the line will be Andy Woodvine here as he makes his way through the complex, and just run down the order a little further back. John Power, we saw that start squabble. He came across the line in 12th place in the end, so a bit of a difficult day for him in the championship as Woodvine makes his way to the pits. That is all 3 races done for the second round of the championship. Wow, what a night it has been. Trafford King has done the triple. An absolutely sensational performance from the Type R Trophy racer. He'll be absolutely thrilled with that. I'm sure we'll hear from him in just a moment. And of course, a 4th win of the season for him right there as well. Going to be well into the lead of the championship and going on to sort of his home territory with the Type R Trophy being the car of choice next time out on December 30th. So plenty to look forward to still, as we're soon coming up to the halfway mark of the season.
It's flown by, hasn't it? But that's what we've come to enjoy from the 750 Motor Club. Amazing races, amazing racing, and it's all coming together in its sim racing form as well. Yes, there's been some moments, shall we say, as there are, of course, trackside. But the racing overall, certainly from my perspective, has been amazing fun. Thoroughly enjoyed it. We thoroughly hope you lovely people watching along, either live or post-event, have enjoyed it as much as we have. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to hearing from Trafford on how his performance gone, because from our perspective, he has been flawless.
It certainly has been a remarkable day, and of course he wanted it to be a bit calmer in that race. It certainly was for him, absolutely untroubled in that one. Of course, Adam Parsonage as well, another Type R Trophy racer, joining him on the podium for only the 2nd time this season, I believe. And of course, Colin Cunniff back on the podium as well. He was 3rd in race number 1, 3rd in race number 3 as well. Of course, not quite getting the results he wanted in race number 2, but that's going to really shake things up in terms of the championship. And of course, Trafford King will be leading not only the 750 Motor Club division as he was going into this particular round, but now also the overall championship as well, after a very difficult race for Ben Goodwin, who's leading the championship coming into tonight's action.
Yeah, very much so. Ben was actually leading without a win. Ironically,
Yeah.
It's 2nd and 3rd last time out, 4th in the 2nd race. It was obviously a narrow margin between himself and Trafford King, but Trafford with somewhat of a stranglehold on the championship at this point as we head on. But yeah, very much looking forward to hearing from the young man once again. Trafford, are you with us?
I am. I'm here.
Well, that went exactly as you'd hoped. Yeah, did you see the carnage unfold behind you after Clevo?
Yeah, I did. I just saw a slight sideways and then a load of sideways and then it was just a gap, and I was like, all right, well, fair play.
That's that then.
Sorry, lads.
You must have been smiling all the way to the finish line for that one. But again, is it one of these things where if you're given a big lead, it's easy to take your eye off the ball, or do you just kind of settle down and let the laps roll by?
I was just trying to put consistent laps in, but there's a couple of times where I'd sort of nearly caught myself out, just trying to push a little bit too hard, just for the sake of it, I think.
It's very easily certainly done in the sim racing world. So we head to more familiar territory for you. Well, not that you've been unfamiliar with what we've had so far. So Cadwell Park in the Type Rs, you've got to be looking forward to that.
Yeah, that should be an interesting one, but it'd be good fun, nonetheless.
Absolutely. So, Chris, over to you.
Yeah, Trafford. I mean, what more is there to say, really? Of course, next time out, Cadwell Park Type R Trophy as well. You're going into it now, leading both championships. How are you feeling going into the next round?
All pressure's on, really, because obviously that's the real life one.
Yeah. Well, that just about sums it up as well. Something about the Type R drivers in that last race, because of course Adam Parsonage was second as well.
Yeah, must be in the I don't know, in the paddock, really.
Something in the water.
Yeah, something like that.
All right, Trafford. Well, congratulations on a perfect night, pole position in all three races. You were denied the fastest lap point right at the end by Colin Cunniff, though. So it's not a perfect haul.
I saw that and tried to line myself up for the next lap, but I couldn't put one together.
Oh well, it's as good as it's probably going to get. So well done. We'll see you next time out.
Perfect. Cheers.
Well, that wraps things up from the second round of the 750 Motor Club Sim Championship, powered by Grid Finder. If you are a member of the 750 Motor Club, then do, of course, remember the closing date for entries for the Plum Pudding races, the Boxing Day tradition at Mallory Park. The closing date is coming up in just a few days, 9 a.m. on Monday, the 20th of December. So if you want to take part in those races, then make sure you get your submissions in to the 750 Motor Club in time for that. Of course, remember as well, there is still the early bird registration for 2024 as well. You can get in before the 22nd of January. Which is when will be open to everyone else. You'll be able to get a discount and a few extra sets of tyres as well. All the details there on the 750 Motor Club website. And if you haven't seen, the live streaming dates for the 2024 season as well have been announced. So go and check it out on the calendar to see which of your races are going to be live streamed next year. And the new Paddock Show social media coverage coming for next year as well. Very exciting times for coverage of the 750 Motor Club. Chris, before we say goodbye, any closing final thoughts from you?
This was why I was so looking forward to this combination. Just these small cars, very twisty circuit, but one that has a particular flow to it that really suits the Master 7 or the 7-side machinery. We were not disappointed, but what a combination we get. Honda Civics, again, a different beast once again. You go to a front-wheel drive car, very powerful, very light, but a very narrow track. So this is going to be a very challenging circuit. Cadwell doesn't have an awful lot of overtaking opportunities, but again, a much more closed-wheel design, a bit more door banging. I suspect we're going to see some elbows out once again.
Absolutely. So join us in 2 weeks' time, December 30th, to round out the 2023 year with one more 750 Motor Club stream, which will be the Type R Trophy at Cadwell Park. You do not want to miss that. And as it's the last time we'll see you before Christmas, from Chris, myself, and the whole 750 Motor Club, a very Merry Christmas to you all. We'll see you in 2 weeks.